Tonight we are going on a mega leg. We have the Amazing Race 32 episodes 8 and 9 recap. Joining me tonight, as always, Calbert. How's it going?
It's going good. What's going on, everybody?
Goldberg, how's it going tonight?
Freezing cold in Florida. 50 degrees tonight.
Wow.
Ice cold.
Ice cold.
Coldest day of the year.
So we had our double episode, which was really only one long one, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We did the mega leg in India. What did Goldberg? What overall did you like both? I guess both episodes.
I like the challenges, or whatever you want to call them. I like that part of the episodes. I wasn't the biggest fan of the way the mind, I guess, I don't know what you want to call it, the way they played the blondes, I guess we'll just say. The way they played the blondes, I wasn't the biggest fan of that, but I enjoyed the challenges themselves.
Mm-hmm. Calbert.
I like that nobody passed out. It's India. That tends to usually happen. Some team on a team, the middle finger team usually passes out. India, that didn't happen this time, and they all survived, which is, most of the teams survived, I should say. So yeah, I thought it was a good episode for Mega Leg. Yeah, I kind of agree with Goldberg. I thought the detours were okay. But yeah, for first time in India and it being a Mega Leg and everything was doubled, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, first ever mega leg. So it was definitely interesting. So once again, we had the detour of the food app, or I believe it was called. Oh boy.
Zeros and ones, right? It's the
the zeros and ones. I mean, it was like they had a clever name for the
right.
The detour. I think. Oh yeah, food app or number trap.
Right.
So doing this one, I think I would have done probably the number trap because I'm pretty good at video games, and I think the coding wasn't that hard. Calbert, what would you have done?
I would have done the food app. Here's why. Not that. I mean, following zeros and ones and trying to make up the code. After the second time, probably would have been okay, but I would have done the food app because someone is directing me. Right? I don't necessarily. That can take time to put the letters. Having somebody direct me, which is what they did, and then all I have to do is drop lunch off to 3 different people. I can do that. That's not hard, as opposed to standing there and grabbing zeros and ones. So I would have done the food app. Food?
I'm still here. Earls?
Yeah, Goldberg. What detour are you picking here?
I actually would have picked the other one, only because it was kind of like a video game, and I feel like I would catch on to a video game relatively quickly, even if I lost the first 3 or 4 times like most of the teams did. I think I would have caught on to catching the numbers after a few times. So I think I also feel like that one may have taken a shorter time. I think it was called Swiggy. Was that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Swiggy.
I feel like that took just so long. Maybe it's because we were watching the Blondes do it, and anything they do takes a long time. But it seemed like it just seemed so long and so many picking up food and delivering it. The other one, I just felt like it to decode it, to catch the numbers and decode it, and you're indoors. I don't know. That would have been more up my alley than the Swiggy one.
But I thought Hung and Chi did that correctly though with the Swiggy by saying like I'm by this building right?
Yeah,
Where-
no, they did a great job. They
where
did
the
a great
blondes-
job.
Where the blondes are.
And that's the second time in the show that they've switched detours, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's worked out for them both times.
Yeah, they recognize when they're struggling and they're able to, just, hey, we gotta eject, we gotta go over. And I mean, they probably knew when it was a mega leg that they did have time to come back. So
They're so calm about it too. They have such a great demeanor, calm demeanor
Mhm.
about them. Like they just never feel like every other team. You at one point, Will and James, even Gary and D'Angelo, East Florida partner. You feel tension or just like that they could break down. Like just Hung and Chi are just so level headed.
which
Yeah.
I thought for Hurl's team and that's why Aparna, because they're engineers and because they did so much talking about doing coding and how much coding they do, that they would have nailed this one probably after the second try.
It did seem that way.
But
Mhm.
that's not what happened. So I mean,
Which one would you have picked, Hurls?
I'm picking the coding because I do not want no part of going out and walking the streets of India. I would have gotten lost. I mean, now I will say this, wherever they were, this seemed like less populated than some of the past places they went to in India. This seemed a little bit easier. So but I'm still doing coding. I think I would have got that challenge pretty quickly. And I'm not. I mean, hey, I used to deliver pizzas, so I don't mind delivering food. But I'm still doing the video game one. The decoding.
Would you have enjoyed delivering the pizzas with no GPS and me on the phone telling you where to go?
Yeah, that'd be pretty rough. But I'll tell you this: when I did deliver for good first 2-3 years, I did not have a GPS, so it was all you had to memorize a map. But yeah, that's even worse because you don't have anything. So
and then a good muscle memory too.
So yeah, it was. But yeah, I'm picking the coding for sure. So the blondes in this one, they had a bad taxi. Is that what happened again?
Yeah, they were late again. Yeah.
Another bad taxi. A taxi that didn't know where they were going. And you guys know my pet peeve when it comes to taxis. So I'm not going to go into it. But that was not good for them. I think that's what started the rock down the hill for them.
I mean, yeah, that's wow.
I just couldn't believe it was happening to them again. Like, how could you be the worst? Like, you're just genuinely the worst team. You're just the worst team. Right. Because you're automatically falling behind right away at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Like, it shouldn't be.
Why aren't the other teams getting lost?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Why does it always happen to the teams that just?
And they were I think that's part of the problem. Part of the problem with them too is that they were so calm and they were so nice. Like they're like, are you
that?
Sure?
And like I love at the beginning of the episode, like, oh, this time we got saved again. We're really gonna come out strong this time. And like immediately they fell behind. Like while they were in the taxi talking themselves up, they like fell an hour behind the other team.
Right. Oh man. The city we went to was Hyderabad. Hyderabad. Yep. So, but yeah, like I just don't get it. Like right out of the gate, the equalizer's there, and they're still all of a sudden they just falling right back. You know. So, but yeah, Hung and Chi. I mean, switching detours. You know, they really struggled on that. But it was smart of them because if they figured, hey, they're not going to make it, they might as well, switch now while they still can.
That's exactly right, and that's why they're like, okay, we'll try this 2 more times, and if we don't get it, then we'll just move on. Which that's the thing to do. Like after a dozen times, and it's not like they were going slow, they were going at a decent speed. It's just when the numbers are coming at you at that speed or at that rate, it's hard for some people. So.
They also probably knew, the blondes are 3 hours behind us, so we could do 4 detours before they catch us.
Right.
It'll be okay.
Yeah. So then we had the roadblock, which was pretty interesting, I thought. They had to go to the augmented reality feature on a tablet computer to find 3 virtual men in turbans standing in front of the tomb's columns. They then had to find the matching men atop the tomb and place them above the correct columns to receive 3 scrolls they could exchange for their next clue. So this was an interesting challenge. I thought
I thought, so. Yeah.
You know,
'Cause
did it remind you of like Pokemon Go a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of, right?
Well, and I thought the same thing too. I was like, whenever he was down there, I'm like, because I didn't quite grasp it right at the beginning. I'm like, what are they doing with the tablets? Didn't make any sense to me. At the beginning, I'm like, what are they doing? And then all of a sudden, like magic, a character comes out. And I was like, okay, this shouldn't be hard then, right? All I got to do is match the person with the color turban to the square, right? But as we found out, it's not necessarily that simple, right?
Right. You had to get the correct order.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep. You had to get the correct square where the placement was with the tomb.
Right. And even if something looked purple on the screen, you might have grabbed somebody that had like a pink turban. Right?
Yep.
So.
I'm gonna go to Goldberg on this one. Goldberg, James really struggled on this one.
Gary deserves half credit for getting this one because Gary gave him the advice.
Gary helped him here. Yep.
How to give the advice. So I mean, we talked about the Mind 5.
Yes, he did. He did give his information there to help him out.
James, I don't. If he didn't tell him that, I mean, I don't really know how long it would have taken James to get out of there. He was not figuring out the alignment, and he also, we knew on the screen that he was getting the turban right, but he didn't know that. He had no idea what he was doing wrong.
Yeah, he was baffled.
I was thinking they're definitely going to be the last team there until Gary tipped them off, but he just was not figuring it out, and I guess. What did he tell him? You have to look across the way. I think that was easier way.
Yes.
Yeah, because he had it figured out. He just didn't have the alignment right. But that was an interesting. I thought that challenge itself was. I thought it was a really cool challenge. Something different.
It was very different because this technology was. They haven't used it. Clearly.
I also liked a lot. It was so obvious how they tried to make it seem like Eswar was struggling so much on this, which he was. He was. And they made it seem like the blondes
could not get that third one. The blondes had a shot.
We're right behind him, and the episode ends with the blondes waiting out their time. Yep. Right, and
we got to talk about that too. Yep.
Okay, so I'll stop. I don't want to say what I'm going to say then. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, Volley Bros get to the yield board here. This was the final stop to use your yield. Why even bother here with the blondes? I think the Volley Bros, they're still spoiler alert, they're still going to be my number one team, and as they should, but why? Why would you use it on them? This is a perfect opportunity. Use it.
Will and James used it.
You're right. Will and James. Oh, okay.
They did. You're right, Hurls.
The volleyballers used it in the next.
Not this episode.
Gotcha. Okay. Will and James uses it. You're right. Okay. I got it mixed up.
That's still a spectacular question because I thought the same thing. Like,
me too.
They're already dead. Use a video game. They got like half.
It's the stupid Mind 5. That was they wanted to get rid of the last team. It had to be that.
Yeah, they were.
I think so. Like
the blondes were just handy. They were going on a handy.
See, because I think Will and James were almost alluding to the fact that if they use it on somebody else, the blondes are most likely going to be like, okay, it's a 20-minute yield. Like you don't have like it's not 5 hours. Like the blondes were going to be eliminated regardless. So. Yeah. If you use it on someone else, you're immediately putting yourself out there for the next episode. When if you yield the blondes, you're sticking to the script and you're not really turning your back on anybody else yet. So that was the thinking I had. Yeah,
that's true.
Kind of why I thought they were doing that.
When they pretty much said the episode before, so last week, when they pretty much said the Mine 5 is pretty much a Mine 3. It's going to have to dissolve at some point. Okay, so if it's going to have to dissolve, this would be a perfect time for it to dissolve. Okay, you guys don't like D'Angelo and Gary, for example. I'm just using D'Angelo and Gary as an example.
Right.
You don't like them because they've been using the Mine 5 to their advantage. Then you put the 20 minutes on them. You don't put the 20 minutes on the Blondes because they're still trying to figure out whether or not they have to go through the gate or not for the Swiggy thing, for the lunch app challenge, right? So it didn't make any sense to me.
But Will and James, nobody knew where the Blondes really were at the time.
Right. And so I guess ultimately it was for an insurance policy. I'm spitballing here. It's for an insurance policy.
I think they're all waiting until there were 5 left to now start turning on each other.
Right.
I think what should have happened, and if you're Will and James, you should have pulled the Volley Bros aside, or even Hung In Chi, because you could spire and talk to whatever team and just say, hey, we're going to use ours. If we get to this point, we're going to use ours on such and such team. Will you do the same on the next leg? If it's possible, you know what I mean? That's what I would have done.
Yeah,
but
you would think that they would have had that conversation while they
beforehand.
Decide who was going to be the last team, right? I mean, so that's a good point. I mean, I don't know.
Because who would you rather go in a race against? The Blondes or Gary and D'Angelo or Hung In Chi? You clearly want the Blondes in there because it'll be easier to beat them,
right?
In the final leg,
right?
So I don't know. I get what you're saying, Goldberg. I don't know. I think that could have been a perfect opportunity to really plan and get one of the top teams kind of to mix it up a little bit. But, knowing what we know about the double U-turn, you're exactly right there. So,
which then that leads, I mean, we don't know this answer, but I'm going to speculate for tomorrow's episode. Does that mean then that because, the next team that is in the lower rung, I'm not ruining anything by saying this, the next team that's in the lower part of the rung, does that mean then that they get double U-turned for the exact same?
Yes, I bet you. I bet they do. I think if you don't want to get U-turned tomorrow, you got to be in the top. You just got to. That's the only way. Because so whoever does get U-turned first.
Who can use a U-turn in the next episode? Anyone?
To my recollection, now I don't know if this is true or not. I don't think Will and James can use it.
Right, I think they already used it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So anybody else can use a U-turn. So if Will and James are not first, they could be in trouble.
They could be. Yes.
They could.
Which is why they stuck to the top 3 little thing, because now there's no reason for anyone to U-turn them. Just no reason to.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why that's why they probably didn't turn their back on Gary and D'Angelo last week, because if Gary and D'Angelo show up to the U-turn before them, they would have gotten them back. They would have definitely gotten them back. Whether Gary and D'Angelo were not getting eliminated last week, it wasn't going to happen. The Blondes were done. So you turn your back on them, and this week Gary and D'Angelo are going to U-turn you, and you could be out because you took a chance to try to yield them, which is a waste of time because it's just 20 minutes, and they were way ahead of the Blondes. It wouldn't have made sense for them to yield Gary. It just wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah, if you know the Blondes are way behind you, though. I mean, maybe they did. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't. Who knows? Because most of them did the gaming one. It was possible that the Blondes could have got to that Swiggy one pretty quickly, and nobody knew about it. But I don't know. I mean, we can talk. I mean, we're going to obviously talk about that quite a bit with the W turn ahead because, it's going to get pretty interesting. So then the second episode, once you finished the challenge, on the virtual reality with the tombs. Then you went to the This or That, the classic Amazing Race, This or That, and I want to say what now the dentist one was that, right?
Correct. The dentist one was that.
And then this was the bracelet where you had to match it.
Right.
Which
Both
is kind of
tough.
like a needle in a haystack challenge.
Both were tough.
See, but
Yeah, they were.
I would have done this because it looked like a majority of the bracelets kind of looked similar. So I think I would have done that a little bit faster. And I'm not putting anything in anybody's mouth. So,
Either.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him and she. Like, yeah, if I could have done a colonoscopy, I would have done that. I thought that was a funny line for the episode. But like, yeah, okay. Or the blonde dude said like he gets a lollipop because he was a good boy.
Gross.
Okay, that's funny. I'm still not. I got no.
Here's the problem though. You don't know what these challenges are.
That's true.
So you don't want to even like. You're probably not going to switch either.
Right.
Because whatever you're going to could be way worse because you have no idea what it is.
And possibly further away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically. And I mean, and you don't know, for example, if you would have done that, you don't know that you would have had to stand outside and wait until the team that was in there completed the challenge.
Yep.
Right. So you don't know that. And then and of course, I mean, I'm not a dentist. I don't play one on TV. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn last night. But, I would think because it's teeth, it's not, you have to be you got to be close, or somewhat accurate. Like they can't fall out, right? So, sawing, or I'm sorry, not sawing them down, but trimming them down looked like it was a little bit of a challenge. That's why I would have done just this. And I'm like, okay, crap, that little one was red, but it actually had a blue star, or that big one has a silver ring on it as opposed to an emerald. Okay, I can deal with that. And I can go back and forth. Like that's the thing. I can go find the person that has the bracelet that I'm looking for. Where when I'm dealing with somebody's teeth, like if I'm up by a quarter of an inch, the teeth might not stay in properly, right? So
yeah,
that's the thing.
Polish some teeth. However, did it seem to you that that challenge was quicker than this?
I think it was 6 in one, half a dozen of another. But I think that's just because depending on what order you decided to do the bracelets in. If you decided to do the little ones first, going from little to big, then yeah. I guess in theory, probably the teeth would have been that. I see what you're saying, that could have been quicker, but I don't know necessarily the person's mouth that I'm dealing with. Like, and actually, as stupid as this is going to sound, how many teeth does the person have in their head? Do they have 2? Do they have 4? Do they have part of a top but no bottom? Do they have part of a bottom but no top? So
yeah,
I'm sorry, that was disgusting. I
don't
care. I honestly don't care if you told me right off the bat. The teeth challenge is going to take 1 hour less than the other one. I'm still going with the other one. Like that was gross, and I would not stick my hand in anyone else's mouth with 4 gloves on. I wouldn't have done it. And I actually think the easier challenge of the two was the teeth. And having said that, I still would have picked the bracelet one in a heartbeat because that's just gross. It's just gross.
Yeah,
that's just gross.
So wait.
Disgusting.
If you just said that when you did this or that, and you get to that challenge, you're automatically going to go to this. You're going to switch.
I'm busting a quick U-turn, and I'm getting the hell out of there. Unless my partner is willing to do the entire thing.
Yeah.
I am not putting the end part where you have to like fit them for the dentures.
Yes,
I got so like that part. Just watching it made me nauseous. That was disgusting. Like that last part with I don't know if it was who was it. Who did that other than Kaylin and Haley?
Hung and Chi.
Not Hung and Was that it?
East- There's three, half and half. Yeah, Iswar and Aparna.
I think it was Kalen and Haley. Somebody at the end put it in, like put it in at the end, and like it didn't fit properly. Like the first
And
time
the
they put
person
it
was
in.
choking or
Yeah,
coughing
that
it
was
up.
so gross.
Yeah, it was.
It was so disgusting.
Yeah.
And those people were gross. Like the people that they were fitting it. Oh, that was just not. I almost turned it off. That was disgusting.
That's the thing. I thought for sure. To Goldberg's point, I thought for sure us and partner were gonna go like, screw that. We aren't doing this. We're going somewhere else because that's what they said. They were like, oh my god, this is gross. Oh my god, this is so gross. I can't believe we're doing this. Blah blah blah. Like that's our pretty brain going. We shouldn't be doing this. I don't care how far it is to do this.
Then again, $1 million on the line. I may do it. I may do it for $1 million.
If
I forget if I'm in the position and I know there's $1 million on the line, I think I literally would probably pretty much do anything. I think I would put my. I think I'd put my hand in the guy's mouth with no gloves if there's $1 million on the line.
Fair enough.
But watching from home, that was disgusting.
It was really hard. But
I don't know. I think if I knew what those two were, I'd probably do the bracelet just by instinct. But
that's the thing, right? You don't know which.
Yeah.
It says this or that. It doesn't say if you do this, it means. Well, actually, until you got there, like that's when you realize, okay, this is what we have to do. Pun intended. This is what we have to do, right? So because there was like a clue box in the middle of the street that goes, okay, this says this. This is what we're doing, or that says.
Wait,
this.
so I think we missed in the first episode. We missed where they had to pull over those.
Auto.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I think we didn't touch on that.
No.
And I just want to say that was a really funny part where one of the blondes is telling one of the little cars where to go, and she's like, "Pull over, you're ours." And then she turns around, and it's not there, and just keeps drives away. Like
I thought that was kind of.
Like,
I thought that was too. I kind of like that the smog test basically.
That's the part where Iswar and Aparna actually called it autos instead of the Rick or whatever. Yeah. That was the one part where they actually got ahead of not Will and James, because I think Will and James got out of there first. But I think Iswar and Aparna were actually second. But I think it was the Blondes and the Volley Bros that were like battling out to leave. Yeah.
Both of them. I think the Blonde did the Blondes beat the Volley Bros? Maybe not.
They may have, and then got lost on the way to the.
Yeah, I think they did. I think the Volley Bros were last.
Yep.
Because D'Angelo and one of the Volley Bros were arguing because I'd have to go back and
two.
Because he was going to take two at a time. Which D'Angelo was like.
I give them credit for sticking up to Gary. Like I would like Gary and D'Angelo like walk all over me. Like I'd be a little intimidated in them.
You should see the hidden scenes with Gary and D'Angelo. They actually fight quite a bit, and Gary gets really angry, like ridiculously angry. Like
Gary's like a goof, and D'Angelo easily gets under his skin because
because he jokes
D'Angelo
around,
thinks
and Gary doesn't want to joke at all. Yep.
That and like D'Angelo, like when they were doing in the previous episode when they were doing the acting scene at the movie place.
The movie, yep.
And like D'Angelo was taking his sweet time, trying to prepare for it, and Gary's like,
right.
"Man, let's just do it, bro. Like, let's just
we've been in 3 hours. How much more time do you need?"
Yeah, they don't always see eye to eye when it comes to things like that.
But
yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I realized we forgot that part.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
And the Volley Bros were last at the time.
They were, and then who did the Bengals challenge first? I think it was the Volley Bros got out of there first, right? They nailed it pretty quickly.
And then it was D'Angelo and Gary. Gary was second there.
Second.
And then they finished third, but it was close. It was close third.
Will and Jay, they got done like right away, and then Iswar and Aparna got done with the dentist challenge first, and then Hung and Chi, and then the Blondes obviously were way back there.
Right.
which then brought us to the final roadblock. One team member had to prepare 10 place settings on a section of India's longest table to the exact standards for a royal dinner to receive their next clue. Yeah, this was kind of interesting, but I guess this kind of goes back to the yield again, and the Volley Bros using the yield on the blondes. Right. So Goldberg, you obviously like this move because it keeps the Mind Five together, right?
No, I don't give a shit about the Mind Five. So,
I mean, you like it in terms of strategy.
I understand the strategy. Yeah, I understand the strategy with the Volley Bros thinking, okay, we stick to the script and we look good to everybody else right now. We're not turning our back on anyone. They all had to know that the blondes were last. They had to know it. It just logically made sense to just team up on them in this instance. Would I have done it? I'm not so sure, but it made sense, I guess. And it also ruins my theory that the Volley Bros had a crush on the blondes. That totally defeats that too.
Yeah, they totally went heel on them pretty quick. Yeah. After getting played kind of in the previous episode.
I think they might have, like, maybe off camera, they made a move on the blondes and were rejected. And they're like, you know what, fuck this. We're yielding them.
Probably.
They made a pass at them and it didn't pan out.
Didn't go so well.
Yeah. The blondes got done with that challenge. They were like, so what we got if we got U-turned again?
I feel like they were like,
heads.
that was like too convenient the way they were like. I feel like the producers were like asking them that question or something, like,
yeah,
because were they really expecting to get yielded again? I wouldn't have thought they were going to get yielded again.
No.
The fact that they were even talking about it, like on the car ride there, like, hey, what if we get yielded again? Like, I wouldn't have been talking about it. I wouldn't have thought there was a chance I would get yielded again. Like, we're losers. We're in last. Like, you don't need to yield us. We're going to be eliminated anyway.
I mean, I get that. I get the point. Like, okay, you got your yield. You know it's the last time you can use it. So, yeah, you might as well just use it. But, man, I don't know. I mean.
But to your guys' point, you could also say, okay, the Mind Five, we're 5 out of the last 6. We don't know. Maybe they don't know where the blondes are at this point. Maybe we could take a shot and try to eliminate Gary and D'Angelo here and use it on them and say, okay, if it doesn't work, let's say at the worst, it doesn't work and the blondes are eliminated. We're going into the next episode anyway. The deal is off anyway. So, like, we're the last 5 anyway. So we might as well try. We could try to get you out. And if it works, hey,
right,
you're out. And but nobody wanted to turn their back on. Nobody wanted to do it.
Another interesting thing is watching the deleted scenes. It sounded like the Volley Bros, like a lot of the teams were hanging out like late into the morning. Like I think you get 12 hours once you hit the pit stop. Mm-hmm. So a lot of teams were staying up, hanging out with each other for like their first, say 4 hours, and then they'd go to sleep, or 6 hours. It sounded like with the Volley Brothers were saying that they went to bed right away. So maybe, I don't know how much mingling they were doing with other teams.
Well, they also spent a lot of time with Will and James and Hung and Chi.
Yes.
Because I read that they were the first 3 teams. I can't remember which leg. I think it was the previous leg. Where was it? Kazakhstan? Maybe? Yeah, Kazakhstan. Yep. And the 3 of them were the first 3 teams, and they went on a tour because they had some time in between filming. And the 3 teams went on a tour to learn about Kazakhstan. And they really bonded. Cool. Yeah, they bonded and agreed that they're in the Mind 5, but the 3 of them
they're the Mind 3
for each other. Yeah, they're going to look out for each other.
That explains that then. Okay, that's why Will and James would say that then. Okay.
That's stupid. Yeah. That is so stupid, though.
Yep.
Because whoever doesn't win, you're going to be. That is.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like, I mean, we're at that point now. We're like, if you're Hung and Chi, you're not going to give any information, or you would. It would be a fatal mistake for you to give up information now. If a team doesn't know how to do a challenge like we watched the week before when they were in Berlin, you know, and I'm not going to hang around and watch you try and figure out it's sauerkraut.
Right.
Right. So,
but it also leads me to believe that after having heard that information, the Mind 5 worked. They got their final 5.
Yep.
And now, having heard that those 3 wanted to be together, could it possibly be that they end up being the final 3, even though, they're the best 3 teams? But if they work together here,
it should happen.
It's pretty
right?
simple to make it happen. It's pretty simple for them to make it happen.
And
have you ever seen a season that literally goes exactly to script?
No.
And the contestants are wanting it to go.
I like this.
Right.
The Alliance.
There was a season. I want to say it was like 8 or 9. There was a faction. They tried to get that faction all the way, kind of like what's happening now. But one of the teams lost, and one of those teams who wasn't in the faction was pretty good, and they ended up beating them like 1 by 1. So it kind of got broken off. But no, I've never seen something like this.
Which is why I think, okay, your 5 made it, but now are your 3? Are you going to go 3 for 3, and your final 3 teams are going to be what you wanted it to be, or can Gary and D'Angelo and Eastwar and Aparna cause some mayhem here and ruin it? Which I kind of hope they do. I hope they do. I really hope they do.
I agree, because I'm saying as a viewer, as a ratings, it's not good ratings when it's just going these. You know what I mean?
It's going
like going to the script, down to the script. They need something different here, and it's bad enough that the Mind 5 is all in there, but
one of those 2 teams has to play spoiler.
Something, yeah.
And I'm leaning more. No offense to you, Hurls, but I'm leaning more towards Gary and D'Angelo playing this game a little edgier than maybe Eastwar and Aparna would, and maybe ruining that plan of the final 3.
The fact that Eastwar and Aparna are in the top 5, I'm ecstatic right now.
You're lucky they were in the mine. You're lucky they were in the mine at the time. Like,
right.
Otherwise, if the Blondes were in the they'd well, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe not. They're so bad.
I don't know. I do not see. I hate this faction, and I honestly don't even really consider Eastwar and Aparna a part of this, because
they're not.
Have they even reaped the benefits of anything?
No. None. No. Other than your point, they have not been screwed over because they
haven't been screwed over. Correct.
But I'm gonna say one more thing about this, and then I'm gonna we can move on. But I think Will and James, and I'm not just saying this because I pick them. I honestly, genuinely think that they're playing the game better than anyone else right now, and because they're the only team that you kind of hear saying they know they're going to have to turn their back on somebody, and they're not afraid to do it. We haven't really seen that from any other team, although I don't think Gary and D'Angelo would be afraid to turn their back on anybody. But we haven't really heard any other team. I mean, Will and James have made moves throughout this thing, yielding Alana and Leo. They weren't afraid to do that.
Right.
They're just. I feel like they're playing the game better than any other team right now. Which. And if I didn't pick them, I'd be saying the same thing.
They are when it's time to make moves, when it comes to U-turn or time to help out team to make sure that their team they're definitely playing it. I don't know. And we got to finish the episode here because we haven't. There's still some things we missed, but before we kind of go on to next week, but what did you think about the Volley Bros? They help. I mean, they helped out. Who did they help out? They didn't help out Gary. So did Gary notice the Volley Bros helping out Will and James, but then not helping out him? Did he notice that?
After he got told that his play setting was incorrect, he figured it out. But
okay,
to Gary's point, like it only took him, and he even said that even before he was. Let me backtrack for a second. He even said that he's like, okay, I'm going to do this challenge, and my goal is to try and get it done no more than I'm sorry, I screwed that to mess up no more than once. So by the second or third time, I gotta get it. He kind of figured it out later about he's like, what's this ruler doing here? And I was like, I was sitting there watching, going, I didn't know napkin folding was so freaking technical. That's what I took away from this part of the episode. Even though they all looked very nice in their outfits and stuff, but I was like, Gary is literally on an island by himself now, because the Volleybros had told Will, I believe,
about the ruler, right?
About the ruler.
Yeah.
And Will told
Chi. Or Hung. I'm sorry, Hung. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, and Gary's just kind of, which, if this is the longest table, which it was.
Yes.
And there's whispering involved. There's only 3 people in that room. I'm not the best whisperer, but if I hear somebody whispering, I can kind of put something, something's up. I must be doing something wrong, right? Because generally that's what happens when you're whispering to somebody, right? You're going, and then, you might be using your hands to show, this is what you're trying to do, right? So, to Gary's point, it only took him the second time, and he went, "Oh, okay, I figured it out." And he actually took the easiest, or easier, I shouldn't say easiest, the easier napkin folding, where it didn't involve folding it into 3/4 and trying to make it look like the goose. So I mean, I don't know. They were lucky that it didn't backfire on them, because Gary would have been like, "Oh, okay," because Gary was the second one to get there. After the Volleybros got there, he was the second one to get there. So,
yes, they were. Yes, they were. Because it happened twice. Will and James got their third, and then Eswar and Aparna got their fourth.
Right.
But then, who helped out? Now, who helped out Hung? It was James.
James did, yeah.
Okay, so he's the one who helped out Hung. Okay.
Right.
So clearly, Hung or Eswar and Aparna were right behind Hung and Chi when they checked in. So Eswar and Aparna are going to win that. So that would have been the upset of the week if that happened, but it didn't because of the alliance. So,
which, and to your point, I mean, and at the time, you don't know that the ruler's involved for the actual measuring of the distance of the plate to the. To me, it looked like the distance of the plate to the table itself, to the fold of the table, I should say. If I'm doing that, I wouldn't know that. I'm just like, okay, I'm putting this together. I'm trying to find, which, to the Blonde's point, that they found the easiest table setting to put together. They caught a break in that way, where and she got it right away. They didn't mess up at all. It was a timing thing.
Yep.
So. I don't know. That's the one part I didn't like about the entire episode. It was okay, this is really, really freaking technical. And yeah, I'm sorry, guests, that you had to sit there and wait for us to come and get you, and then put you up in the horse and carriage. Sorry, we were trying to do, we were trying to put somebody's teeth in their mouth.
Yep. Exactly. So I don't think Eswar and Aparna noticed that Hung got the answer, but Gary definitely did. If you're Gary right now, do you go up to Eswar and Aparna and make an alliance with them?
No.
You don't?
I don't. If I'm Gary, no, because
I mean they technically have an alliance with them because they're part of the Mind Five. But knowing what you know, that Will and James clearly
I think Gary, but I think Gary and D'Angelo think that it's no holds barred now, and it's every team for themselves.
That's what I took away from it.
Coming down to the final 5, I think they're all in agreement. See, having watched the interview that I watched afterward, I realized that the 3 of them feel closer than without Gary and D'Angelo and Eswar and Aparna. But at the time of filming, they may have thought, okay, the 5 of us made it. Now it's every team for himself, but I don't think that's how it's gonna map out. I think the 3 of them are teaming up. That's just my
that's exactly
prediction.
That's exactly what D'Angelo said when they hit the mat. They were like, the Mind 5 made it to the 5. Now it's everyone himself.
Yeah,
God, that is the word. Couldn't they come up with a better name than that? Jesus.
Well,
That's just where the alliance was created, I guess,
That's where it was
in
built.
Colombia.
And that's when the Blondes found out that there was hey, they had a name.
They didn't even know. They had no idea. They had no idea that they were the 6th team and there were 5 teams against them.
But yeah, I mean, especially if I'm in the 5 now, and if I'm Gary, I wouldn't want to trust Esquire Aparna because you're technically,
Yeah.
I know I kind of ruined it, but you're technically last at this point. So
Yeah.
do I trust? Because it started slow in every single leg of the race.
Right.
If I'm Gary and D'Angelo, I'm not trusting.
Nah. It's time to go on your own. It's time. It's time.
I see. I think now here's the thing though. Here's the thing. If Esquire and Aparna get that lucky leg where, hey, we're out in front, we're the first to the U-turn, now what?
But I don't think Gary and D'Angelo knew that the other 3 were.
There's no way. There's no way they knew.
Yeah, they don't know that at the time.
So he doesn't know.
There's
So
no
Gary
reason.
didn't know that the Volley Bros.
I don't
helped out
think he
Will
did.
James.
No.
I don't think he did.
No.
Okay, so if he doesn't know, then this whole conversation's off. Then
I don't think
because
he knew that the 3 of them helped each other. I don't think he knew that.
No.
That's just my opinion.
You could even see it. He was like, because he asked, and he legitimately asked the Volley Bro as he was leaving. He was like, "What's up with the ruler?" And the Volley Bro was like, I don't know.
Also, here's one for you. Aparna tweeted earlier after the episode aired, was complete. It was Hung who was doing it, right? Hung was in that.
Hung got she got helped. Yeah.
She said completely was confused how Hung got it before me. Now I know. She had no idea at the time. She had no idea how Hung passed her.
Yeah, that one I got. That one I got because it was so quiet. You couldn't really.
None of the five knew that the top 3 are trying to pull one over right now. I don't
honestly, I think Hung and Chi look like the good guys here, and the Volley Bros and Will and James are the heels.
Sure.
Volley Bros definitely are heels now because
and especially at that time you don't know that it has to do with the measurement of the plate to the cup to the napkin to the table.
Right.
Like it has to be exact. Like you have no idea why the guy is being so finicky, particular.
Yeah.
About how this plate looks to this plate and that glass looks to that glass. Like you have no idea what. Because I would if I'm Gary and I'm standing there, I'm going, why is this guy being such an ass about like the distance of my plate to my bowl to my glass? This doesn't make any sense. Which is why he looked confused.
Is it just me or the competition's getting a lot harder now?
Yeah, because it felt like you had
good.
the NFC West versus the NFC East in the first half of the episode.
These are seeming putting shit in someone's mouth and aligning things properly. Like I feel like you could easily screw up on any of these and there for hours.
India, it's just a tough country. Like it just seems like the challenges there are always they're just tough. Like
I also
clearly the
enjoyed,
placemats were tough.
I enjoyed how they yielded the Blondes, so we knew the Blondes were done. There was no suspicion this time. We knew Esquire and Aparna were the last team, and there was no suspicion. I love how the Blondes literally zoomed through the dental and the placing of the silverware or whatever.
Yeah.
Literally in like 15 seconds of episode time. They how did they screw up? Like because everybody else screwed up when it came to the silverware.
They could have edited it to make it seem like they just.
That's what I'm saying. Of course, they had to have because they zoomed through those competitions so fast and.
Yeah.
But they're, you know what? They handled their elimination well. And you'll get to that. My bad.
They did. I think they were they were happy they made it that far. They were happy that they got to they were happy go to as many countries as possible. And let's not forget they were saved by the non-elimination twice.
Let's think. Did any of us have them being eliminated first or second? I think
yes.
Yeah,
I did.
We did.
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I
Michelle and Victoria
only for the sake that I was hoping they weren't. And you know what? They weren't even as good looking as I thought. So
Yeah.
I
I
had
thought
them.
they did. I thought they were one of the more likable teams
They
in this
definitely
episode.
came off
You know.
very likable in that
Yep.
episode.
Yep.
Very likable.
Pretty,
Really
humble.
nice. Yeah, nice girl.
Yep. Exactly.
I had them 9th for the pre-ranking.
Oh, okay.
That's
Not too bad.
I'm towards the bottom.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think the Volley Bros and Will and James, I get it, but the Volley Bros, I just think they don't need to do that. They don't need to make an alliance. Just let the chips fall where they may. Why would you want to bring Will and James at this point? You clearly see they're a strong team. It's just like
that's exactly right. They're still driving the ship, which for the Volley Bros, that's a fantastic thing. Like, and they actually won a leg.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is the thing we kind of talked about this a little bit last week. Like, hello, the Volley Bros have finally welcome to the Amazing Race. We're actually here. We're actually a pretty good team. Because before this point, they were just kind of going through the motions a little bit. Whatever they finished is whatever they finished. You knew back 4 episodes ago that Will and James were probably the team to beat. So if I'm the Volley Bros, I'm putting the yield on Will and James. Hell yeah, make them sweat. Maybe they have to, at this point, maybe they have to do a car challenge again. And we know how hard they have with cars, with sticks. So
yes.
That I'm with you, Earl. That made no sense to me, other than you're guaranteeing the fact that the Blondes aren't gonna finish now, or be in the 5.
Yes.
It made no sense. It made no sense to yield them a second time. None.
Right. Right.
So
yeah, it's just that's not. I don't want to bring the toughest teams to the finals with me.
Hell no. You want the guy in the corner that shakes his fist at the cloud and goes, you know what? He's an idiot. I want him in the final because I can beat him.
Right, exactly.
But you know what? I'm the same way, but I feel like if I took that, type of personality into the show from the beginning, I may have been one of the first 2 teams out, only because you kind of have to have a little bit of an alliance with somebody or with a couple teams off the bat. Or
yeah, I get that. I get like having an alliance with 1 team or 2 teams at max, but
not 3.
But we can mock it. Okay, for the show's sake, it turned out to not be interesting, but for the team's sake, it worked. They're there. They made it.
It did.
They made it to the final 5. They did.
Yep.
They got what they wanted.
Once Leo and Alana went out, there was just really no way that thing was getting interrupted.
No, Leo was the only shot we had. It was with Leo.
But at the same time, right? It's like we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. It's like getting to the NBA Finals or getting to the Super Bowl. Fantastic. You got to the Super Bowl. You got to the World Series. You got to the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
Getting there and winning it, 2 different things.
Yes.
And if I'm the Volley Bros or if I'm Hung and Chi, you bet your sweet bippy I'm making Will and James sweat this next episode.
Yeah.
Make them sweat.
Well, the smart move would be for the Volley Bros for 2 out of the top 3 to get rid of one of the top 3 teams, if that makes sense.
Well, here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing, too. I want to bring this up because now we can kind of talk the preview here. We have the W turn. Nobody from the top 3 is going to use both of them. Or I should say, okay, Volley Bros and Hung and Chi are not going to use both because they're going to just target 1 team. And then what's going to happen? You know what they could do? And this has happened in other seasons. Volley Bros could get there first.
Mm-hmm.
They could put D'Angelo and Gary's name up there.
Mm-hmm.
Then Hung and Chi could get there second and then put the Volley Bros, knowing that they've already passed, so they can't do it anyway. So then the 2 slots would be used, and D'Angelo and Gary would be the only team that would get U-turned. Or Eswar and Aparna if they choose them. Remember that's happened before, Calvert.
I would.
They've done that before.
I would think, just going off of what happened in Berlin with taking up. I'm sorry, in Kazakhstan with taking up a cab. I would think D'Angelo and Gary would use the U-turn on Hung and Chi.
Yes.
Because so, I mean, your theory is a very good theory, and it's plausible.
That's assuming they get there
right
in the order to do it. But
right.
So what do we know? What do we know? Right now, we have the Volley Bros and Hung and Chi do not out of the Mind Five, they're going to go after Gary and D'Angelo.
Yeah, I think Gary and D'Angelo are going to be targeted in the next episode.
Will and James, as far as we know, can't use another U-turn. We don't know that officially, but we'll just assume they can't. So it really doesn't matter, but
it may not matter, but they're friends with Hung and Chi and the other.
Did they say anything about Gary and D'Angelo? Have they came out and went against them at all? I didn't hear them.
They're saying it in retrospect. I know now that the three of them were teamed up together, which is leading me to believe, and they all keep hinting at the fact that Gary and D'Angelo provided nothing to this alliance, even though there's probably three of the teams that have provided nothing to this alliance, but they seem to be pointing Gary and D'Angelo out, that they've had enough of them taking and not giving.
Yeah. The Mind 3 contract, the Mind 3 is written down in a contract.
Mm-hmm.
D'Angelo and Gary is kind of like a handshake.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think they're going after them next episode. That's my opinion. I think they're going to go after them.
And then watch they go after Eastwar and Aparna.
After that, I think they will. I think they will.
That's very possible.
But they can't. I mean, this is it. This is your last. Besides helping someone out on a challenge.
So this is the last chance to take advantage and get rid of it.
Yield or a U-turn. I mean, that's it. Okay. Once you get down to 4, it's just whoever does challenges faster.
All right. Let me factor that into my rankings.
Well, and then that's why I'm guessing. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm guessing that's why we think, depending on the order of who gets the U-turn. If I'm Eswar and Aparna or if I'm D'Angelo and Gary, I'm U-turning Will and James or Hung and Chi, because you have to.
You have to use the U-turn here.
Yes, the Volley Bros are there.
You have to.
But
call me crazy, and I don't think it's going to happen. But if Eswar and Aparna got there first, I don't think they would use it on anyone. What do you think? I honestly think they've been the nice guys. They have not. I don't think they'd use it. Maybe. I don't think they would.
Possible, but they'd be foolish not to.
Right. They would be foolish.
You're right. You're right, because they really haven't. D'Angelo and Gary are in the same boat. Pretty much, with the exception of Will and James, which I know I'm right about that, because they U-turned Leo and Alana. So you have no other choice. You have a choice not to use it, but you would be foolish not to, because you're in last place as we stand here right now.
Yeah.
So
they should.
That's what
they should.
If I'm D'Angelo or Eswar and Aparna, I'm going for Will and James. Go for the top snake. If I take the sword and I swing and I hit the head, great. The snake's dead. If I swing, okay. At least I gave it a swing. Because that's the thing. You want to put doubt, which is what we've all kind of been talking about without really using the word. You want to put doubt in Will and James' head. To go,
something.
It's easy as a cakewalk as you think.
Well, James had a lot of doubt at that tube task.
Yeah,
there's no question there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, the Leo and Alana storyline would have been great here if they could have kept on going. But now it's just who's going to – I mean, we got a little bit with the Gary. I mean, that's kind of the most entertaining feud right now.
Right.
I just don't – I don't know. I hope it doesn't go chalk. I hope if Gary and D'Angelo, if they do get U-turned, I hope they're ahead of somebody that's not Eswar and Aparna. Hopefully it's like Hung and Chi and they got to make that, that swerve where they got to U-turn them.
I'm really interested to hear your guys' rankings this week, and not rankings per se, but who you think will be eliminated next week is what who you have last in your rankings is I'm intrigued.
Okay, well,
intrigued.
Calvert starts this week, so
I have Eswar and Aparna finishing 5th, so they'll be eliminated. I believe this is my guy.
So them. No, I agree. I'll say I agree with you. but them, pretty much beating Hung and Chi without actually beating them.
Mm-hmm.
Upsets can happen.
Sure.
We do agree with that, right? Okay.
Possible.
Absolutely.
Possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why do you have them last? Why do you have them last?
Because they start so slow.
Yeah.
Every single leg, including the turban leg. Like
Mhm.
they caught a break that the Blondes were kind of still figuring stuff out with the Swiggy part of the food
Mhm.
So they cut, and Hurl has been saying this pretty much for the last 4 weeks. They start so slow that they can't catch up, and now they don't have the buffer of the Blondes or any of the other teams, or Leo and Alana, for example, since we talked about them. There's no more buffer. There's no buffer left. So here's what I think happened. I don't know if this is what's going to happen, but this is what I think is going to happen. I believe that Hung and Chi are going to U-turn Eswarnaparna for the same reason that the Volley Bros yielded the Blondes, for the same reason why Will and James did it to them, because they want it down to those three teams of Hung and Chi and the Volley Bros and Will and James. So I could be completely wrong, but I think, but it also doesn't make it doesn't.
So
make
then
sense.
you definitely have Gary and D'Angelo fourth.
Correct. I have Gary and D'Angelo fourth, which means they're going to beat Eswarnaparna just because of probably luck. I could be completely wrong. I have a feeling Gary and D'Angelo are gonna U-turn on Hung and Chi, is my guess. So that's how the W turn would work for me.
I don't want to jump ahead, but if you have them fifth and fourth, so you're thinking that the top three alliance is going to work.
I believe so. I believe Riley and Madison are third. I believe Hung and Chi are second. And I believe Will and James are first. And it's been like this the entire show. That's another thing. It doesn't tend to happen this way where the three teams are. I'm not saying dominant's not the right word. Are this clear cut, which is why I think the Mind 5 is going to end this week, because it has to end. And I'm not saying that Gary and D'Angelo couldn't surprise me, and I would really, really want them to finish third next week, or just not be in the top four. But I just think it's going to be chalky, which is stupid. And as Amazing Race fans, that makes us mad. Right. That's why I'm not happy that Will and James are going to finish first. But to Goldberg's point, they've been playing the game so well, and they've won damn near every challenge when there's a trip involved. And I just think that's how it's going to go. I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong, and I want.
I'm with you.
Gary
I'm with you 100%. Yeah.
Gary and D'Angelo to finish third. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think Eswarnaparna start too slow. Gary and D'Angelo are going to do. Gary and D'Angelo, well, actually, since Gary did the last two challenges, D'Angelo's going to have to do one this week. So
yeah.
And knowing what we know, knowing that there's been a little bit of a friction between Gary and D'Angelo, which, as a fan of their team, doesn't make me happy, because at this point now, it's like we're in the conference finals. I know it's not really the conference finals, but that's pretty much what we are. You put your head down and you do your job. You don't say a damn word to any other team, and you just do the challenge, and you let the cards fall where they may, right? I just think that Eswarnaparna are just going to finish last, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They could actually be faster than Hung and Chi if it came down to a foot race. If I were to guess, if it came down to
I was just going to say, how did they beat them to the that challenge? Because they clearly beat them. Did I can't remember? Did Hung and Chi get lost on the taxi?
No, they fell behind.
No, they fell. Yeah.
How did they fall behind though? That's what I'm because Iswar left the tomb challenge.
Hang on, that's a great point. How did they get there after them?
They must have. It must have been they couldn't find the place.
I think that was because it took them a little bit to get to the to get their guests to go to the table challenge. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, wait a minute. I have a question for both. Wait, who's next? Me or you, Hills?
It's me.
Okay, then you go, and then I'm going to ask you
Okay.
guys a question.
Okay. So my number 5 team is going to be Eastward Aparna just by eye test.
Come on,
But-
man. Ride it out with the squad.
Hey, I think they can definitely win. See, mine isn't like a prediction of who's going to get eliminated generally. It's
Okay.
just more of a
Power
what I've
ranking.
seen.
Oh, it's
yeah, just like
Yeah.
I don't think Eastward and Aparna are getting U-turn this week.
So who do you think's getting eliminated then this week?
Wait. You don't? Knowing what you know
I do.
from that-
I don't think they do. I mean,
So who do you have being eliminated this week? That's what I want to know. Forget your heart, man. What do you really think?
if the Mine 3 was really smart about it and they had the 2 top spots to get to that U-turn board, they're going to do exactly what I said to Gary and D'Angelo. However, if that does not happen, then Gary and D'Angelo just U-turn Eastward and Aparna. If Eastward and Aparna get off to a slow start, then it's basically chalk.
That's an interesting
You know what I'm
point
saying?
you bring up. That's a very interesting
If they
point.
were smart, yeah, I think Gary and D'Angelo. I hate to say it, and I don't want this to happen, but I think it's going to be either my team or Calvert's team that's getting eliminated. I just don't see any other combination of the two. And if I had to pick a team,
Now, do you think the remaining team will be eliminated next week?
I do.
So you have to watch the episode first.
Man, that's
I do. Because here's I'm sorry, Harold, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
no. I'm just going to say I think it's Will and James. I don't think they're making it to the final 3.
You think Will and James going to be eliminated?
What?
I don't think they're going to the final 3. Even though I'm going to put them in.
You have been eliminated from this show. Okay.
Wow.
Dude,
You're crazy.
You got to admit, man. Red flags are popping up all over this team right now.
I don't think so. I think the top 3 are in business, and they're going to make sure the top 3 is the top 3. That's what I think.
Well, that's
what I
fine,
think.
but I'm saying as in terms of winning the whole thing,
If-
red
I
flags
think
are
if
starting
this was-
to pop up.
Okay, I'm not saying they're going to win the whole thing.
Sure.
But I think they're in the top 3. I think they could finish 3rd
Okay.
or 2nd
Okay.
or 1st. I think the top 3 are interchangeable, but I think they have it out for Gary and D'Angelo and Eastward and Aparna, and we're gonna find that out in the next 2 episodes.
Culver,
That's what I think.
100%.
It'll be
That's exactly what's going to happen. They're all good. It's you know, what's the old saying, right? If it's too good to be true, it probably is.
But we
Right.
got to remember, Hurls has had it out for Will and James from the beginning. He has not been a believer.
Well,
He has.
I'm not a believer in them winning. Definitely not. I
Wait,
got them.
Finish your rankings. Finish your rankings, and then I'm going to ask you
Okay.
the question.
And you're gonna be surprised. You're gonna be surprised at this.
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised
But-
they had the volleyballers first again. It's just
no, you're not. You're not. Because I got Will and James at 3, Hung and Chi
Yeah.
at 2. Even though I was thinking about in my mind that I was going to possibly put Will and James at 2, because Hung and Chi didn't really have that great of a leg.
They did
And
not.
they're kind of slipping a little bit, I think. and coming in at first, a mile ahead of every team is the Volley Bros. I can't believe you guys are jobbing them, or at
I'm
least
not jobbing
Calvert's
anybody.
jobbing them.
No,
I didn't even say
Yeah.
my rankings yet.
No, I'm not jumping.
These guys just won again, and you got them at 3.
They're a steady ship. They're a steady ship. They're doing a fantastic job with the Titanic right now.
All right.
That's right.
Let me ask you guys a question
All right.
before I give my rankings. Let's say the top 3 get the job done and get it down to them 3. Okay, let's say they're Eastward and Aparna are eliminated, or Gary and D'Angelo, whatever, interchangeable. They're both eliminated in the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Are you hopping on the Will and James bandwagon then?
No. No.
You're all in on the volleyballers.
I honestly.
You think Will and James are the weakest of the 3? See, I'm not just saying. I honestly feel like they're the strongest of the 3, and it's only because I think James, with his experience of watching the show, I just feel like they have a plan, and it's going to map out to the end. Whether when they get all right, let me give my rankings first, and then I'll tell you what I think is going to happen.
That's fine.
I could be completely wrong, but whatever.
Okay.
I think that the volleyballers are going to U-turn Gary and D'Angelo in this episode, and but I think Gary and D'Angelo are still going to finish fourth. And I think Eastwar and Aparna are going to be eliminated this week, and I think that's going to bring it to the point where Gary and D'Angelo know that they're the odd team out, and they're going to do their best to try to screw one of the top three over. So I have Eastwar and Aparna last. I got Gary and D'Angelo fourth. I got Hung and Chi third this week. I have the volleyballers second, and I got Will and James first. Only because I think the volleyballers have been up there. What, two episodes in a row, or Will and James won it?
Will and James won.
I think they won 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, they won the Kazakhstan.
But I think Will and James are playing this game to the point where they know what they're doing, and I think that Eastwar and Aparna and Gary and D'Angelo are going to be the next 2 teams out. And then, obviously, from there, it's no holds barred. I don't think you could team up from there, but you guys would know more than me going into a final episode. Is it possible to eliminate a third team with 3 teams left? Is what I want to ask you guys.
Is it possible to eliminate a third?
Yeah, let's say, okay, Will and James want to team up with Hung and Chi and they want the volleyballers gone. Is that possible, or is that ridiculous to think?
No,
it can't do it.
No.
Okay. Well, then I got to stick with the team I picked and just say, I think the top 3 are going to be those 3 teams. And I got to at this point, I have to stick with the team that I picked. So I'll just pick Will and James.
Calbert, is the final episode, do we know how long that's going to be? Is it going to be an hour or 2 hours?
We don't know. We don't know that right now.
Okay. We just know that this week's going to be an hour.
Yes. I can tell you it's Amazing Race, and then it's back-to-back episodes of Steel Team. Go ahead.
So all 3 of us think that the top 3 is going to be Will and James, the volleyballers, and Hung and Chi. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I feel if Gary and D'Angelo make it out of this, there's a shot they could get in the top 3.
I agree. I really do.
I also think some team could really, really screw up if Eastwar and Aparna can somehow just squeak by. They're still in it right now. They could. I don't think they can win it. I definitely don't think. I think there's a slim shot they can make top 3. I think there's a decent shot they can make top 4.
I'm not going to act like any of these teams can't make the top 3. I mean, there's only 5 teams left. Any of them can make the top 3. But let's say the volleyballers were eliminated this week, miraculously somehow. Earl, would you buy in to Will and James' stock then?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
volleyballers are out. Yeah.
It takes a volleyballer elimination for you to.
They're just the team that's got the athleticism.
I don't disagree, and I think that
cool heads prevail there too.
But I also think Will and James and Hung and Chi are right there with them. I really do. Even Hung and Chi, they all 3 of them have been so consistently at the top.
They have, but you've seen some Hung and Chi friction with the communication and how he got so mad at her for helping out.
I honestly, if I was setting odds, sure, they'd be the top 3 favored to move on this week, but any of them could be eliminated. I still say anything can happen.
If Eastwar and Aparna get there first, surprisingly, that flips the script. That's going to flip the whole thing.
But I'd say odds-wise, Eastwar and Aparna would probably be the odds-on favorite to be eliminated this week.
Absolutely.
Gary D'Angelo would be next.
I'm bracing for the worst, obviously, but
at this point, I think, and I like to bring up betting odds every week, which is stupid because you can't bet on something that's already been previously taped.
Right.
I think that the volleyballers at this point maybe would be the favorite to win it all. Maybe.
That's who I got. That's who I got. But
if they wouldn't, they would be second for sure.
And I think Will and James would be second, and Hung and Chi would be third. If you're
the penultimate leg, though, the penultimate leg to get to the final 3 is hard. They usually put a really, really tough task that one before the final task. Now the final task is usually hard, but sometimes it's not. So I've seen seasons where that penultimate leg is tougher than the final leg. So
it also
you know,
depends to. I'm remembering back to just even last year. If there's a puzzle involved, like that's something we haven't really seen this year thus far. If there's a puzzle involved, which I'm going to ruin the show by 9 times out of 10, there's a puzzle involved on the last episode of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the team that remembers, this is where we're remembering the order of, like, even the smallest little detail of, like, you know, what country did we first fly to? What was our first task? Something that minute, something that minuscule makes all the difference in the world. Because if you can remember that order, that's what propels you. And it's something like that and that's where I think Will and James, of the experience of watching the show and auditioning for 9 times.
Yeah, I think their experience in the end is going to pay off. I really do.
What if the final task is looking at a tablet in Tombs?
And we don't know where the last challenge will be. What's meaning what city?
And I was going to
be looking at a tablet with Tombs while driving a stick. That's the last competition.
Yeah. I mean, that would be their 2 weaknesses. I'm just saying, and Hung and Chi clearly have shown that they can get, flustered, and they're not always the smoothest ship. Volleyballers,
I would put them third.
Volleyballers haven't. I mean, yeah, they've taken fourth because they've, in my opinion, chose the tougher task that week.
Mm-hmm.
But this team is first, second.
I'm not arguing that at all, but you have to say Will and James have to be second. They have to be the odds-on second favorite right now at this point.
I don't know the odds. I would say Will the odds-on favorite to win it.
Really? I think the volleyballers should be favored. And I picked Will and James, but I think the volleyballers should be favored at this
Hung
point.
and Chi and Will and James to me are kind of interchangeable.
That's fair enough. It really is.
I mean, both of them got helped this week. So if they don't get the help this week,
I'd
who
love
knows
to
where
see
they're...
one of those top three get knocked out this week.
That goes back to the previous point though about if I'm Esquire and Aparna or D'Angelo and Gary, I'm using it on. Okay, if Will and James or the volleyballers are 1-2, which we can interchange that.
You're going to use it on Hung and Chi then.
On them.
Yeah.
Now,
yep.
I mean, we don't know the order of the U-turn, but that is you making that decision puts you in third place if you're those two teams.
Hung and Chi could definitely get U-turned here too.
I got one more question for you guys before we wrap this up. One more question.
Yep.
Let's say Eswar and Aparna and Gary and D'Angelo, in no specific order, are eliminated in the next 2 weeks. And those top three make it. Is that the most boring season that you guys have ever watched?
I think well, I don't want to say most boring, but
is it? But it would have to be the first season.
There's no drama.
Completely, that went completely to script.
There's no drama.
It's predictable. It's not. I wouldn't.
Gary, at least if Gary and D'Angelo get there, you have that heat. Least
I want to believe that one of these top three is going to get one of them could fuck up. I mean, there's only 5 teams left.
Yes,
it's not like
this is the last time too. Like I said, that you can really use a move to screw over a team.
Okay, but wait. If you look at it this way, though, Let's say the top three make it, but they don't team up on the other two. Let's say legitimately just make it by. That's a possibility too, because the three of them are probably better than the other two.
I think that's more respectable. Yeah, I think that's more respectable, and then you kind of get like a.
Along the way, they've been more consistent than Eswar and Aparna and Gary and D'Angelo.
Yes. But consistency is not always going to get you in the top three.
That's right. Not when you're starting over every single leg of the race. Yep. Not when you're at the starting line every single time.
Exactly.
It's when that fuck up happens. Does it happen in the beginning? Does it happen? Because it tends to happen. If it happens in the middle, you know that it's the team that probably struggled that's going to be it. Now it could come to something we haven't seen it yet this year. They've been close. If it came, let's say for example, it came down to a foot race. Okay, that's where I would say the volleyball. I would put, if that's the case, it would go Will and James 1, Volley Bros 2 for me because they can outrun. They can physically outrun Hung and Chi.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah. But it's predictable. Is it the most boring season ever? Boring's an interesting choice of words. I mean, yeah,
you can't rate it yet. You can't rate it without seeing the final three.
That's true.
Yeah, we do not know what's going to. I mean, these next two episodes are going to be telling if it's going to be a good season or a bad season. I mean, okay, so last year, let's just go over the final tasks. What they had to do. They had to do the puzzle with the clock and the combination. I believe it was
correct.
Then they played that bowling football game.
Yep.
And then they had to put the drum set together.
Right.
For the final, while 100 different people played White Stripes, Seven Nation Army.
Yep.
So yeah. So I don't know. It depends. But Calbert, if you're looking at it right now, you got Cambodia next week.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that penultimate leg going to be, you think? Because I could see they could just not skip Africa altogether and then just stay in another Asian country, or I could see them even going to like Mexico or Canada even to have that leg.
I actually thought it could finish in Canada because it wouldn't make sense to do Los Angeles because they've done Los Angeles a little too much. It wouldn't make sense to do Chicago because even though they've only done Chicago once, that's pretty much it. New York doesn't make.
Well, I'm saying not even the final leg because the final leg they're going to do. Going to do the U.S. in the final leg, I would think. But that penultimate one,
I think the final leg is going. I think the final teams are going to have to battle it out in Milwaukee in a beer pong game.
Dude, that would be great.
Will and James versus the volleyballers in a beer pong.
That would be great. That would be great. That could be your head-to-head. That could be your head-to-head that rears its ugly
head. It's got to be a competition one day. One day. Leo would
make so much sense too. The beer city too.
Mexico would make sense though because that would be something that they don't go there. So that would
correct.
That would kind of make sense for the leg.
Or Canada even. Canada would last stop before home.
I read that those beers and beer yoga were non-alcoholic.
Oh, seriously?
And that Gary Barnage does not drink beer.
Wow.
And that he did not swallow even a non-alcoholic beer.
Wow.
He does not drink.
Wow. Well, good for him.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you so you're thinking I'm thinking like Toronto, for example.
It could.
Right.
Yeah, Montreal, Toronto. I mean, it's just weird because they could also pull a swerve and go to London too, or Scotland or Ireland before they make the long trip home to.
They
could be New York, They've done that before. They went to the UK right before the final leg, I think, last year.
Yep.
That's
right.
Yep. So it's possible, or they could go to Canada. It'd be something different. So they haven't done Canada in a while, I don't think. So
right. That's good. I didn't actually.
It's just odd. They haven't done. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't done at least one African country.
Because they tend to. Yeah.
Yeah, they usually do. Maybe you could do that on the penultimate leg. I could see it.
That would make sense because I'm trying to think that they've never not gone to some part in Africa.
Right. That's what's. I mean, it seems like at least every season they're going there.
Which then that would be. Which, to go back to what Phil said last week, you want to talk about resting. If you're going to Africa and then you're going to New York or Boston to finish it, you're going to need to rest.
Yeah. The African legs can get tough too.
Yeah.
Yep. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. I'm really excited to see how this thing unfolds. I hope it's not just the chalk of, oh, we're gonna double U-turn these two teams and let them duke it out, or
I'm going off of what I saw last week. It just looks that way, which is stupid. That's not how it should be done.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just going off of because to go back to the previous point, the volleybros, sorry, U-turning the blondes makes me think that's how it's going to go. Okay, whoever gets there first, one of them's going to U-turn Eswan Aparna. Whoever gets there, they're going to U-turn D'Angelo and Gary, and that's what I'm saying. If I'm D'Angelo Gary or Eswan Aparna, I U-turn. If I'm D'Angelo and Gary, I U-turn Hung and Chi because I already don't like them.
Right.
And if I miss Eswan Aparna, I might as well swing for the king. Swing for the king, and if I miss the crown, I miss the crown. Go for Will and James.
Yeah.
So
do something. Yeah. I mean, they got to do something if they get it. But like I said, if they were the first team to go there, I don't know if they're using it, but maybe I could be wrong. So We'll see. I think it's going to be good. Final grade for this past episode before we close it out. Goldberg.
I'd give it a B minus, only because I enjoyed, like we said at the beginning, I enjoyed the competitions. But I didn't like the fact that they yielded the blondes twice. It just didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
So I'll go B minus.
Okay. Calvin.
Oh wait, are we doing it out of 10 or I don't even remember?
8 out of. I mean, you do 8 out of 10 then. Yeah.
Nah, 7.5.
Okay, 7.5. Okay.
I'm gonna go. I'll go 7 just because it was a mega leg. Right. So we'd never seen it before.
Right.
I mean, is it gonna be one that we put down in the book for Amazing Race History? Probably not. And I also didn't like the fact that the blondes got U-turned because it does or yielded twice. It doesn't make.
It's like pouring salt on the wound.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting beat 54-0, and the team's still passing Hail Marys.
Right. Exactly.
You're getting beat 54-0, and then they onside kick it and recover.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I'm going to give it an 8. I thought it was interesting with the whole mega leg, and I liked the challenges, even though they were kind of gross at points, but different, unique. I thought it was a good mega leg episode, so 8 out of 10. All right, that'll do it. Yeah, good stuff. Can't wait to see how this turns out. So
should be fun tomorrow.
Yeah.
Only one episode tomorrow. So
okay, well, that'll be easy enough to keep up with then.
Never going to the dentist again.
That's the other thing I took away from the episode. Yes.
Unless Hung is my dentist, I'm not going.
Right. Well, that's all for us. We'll see you next week for episode 10 already. Peace.